Well, it's September 7th, 2025. And a cool afternoon here. Really nice, so we don't have any wind. 60 degrees. Got down to about 40 last night. Got a project going on here that I think should be pretty interesting, so let's get into what that is. And besides getting some information out on how this, I also wanted to shoot this gun for the first time. It's the one I picked up used, and it had really had been taken care of pretty well, or else it hadn't been shot that much. I can see that the screw here, the holes in the wedge, is pretty well messed up. Otherwise, the rest of them look pretty decent. An issue it had here was that the cylinder wouldn't stay locked very well. In other words, after I bring it back into full cock position, of course this gun is empty right now, I could wiggle the cylinder, and when I actually moved it pretty hard in this direction here, it actually would kind of come out of its, the bolt down here kind of come out of those notches. So I did some measurements, and it turns out that the bolt in this gun was just too large to fit into those grooves by 3 or 4 thousandths of an inch. So it was battering the sides here of the thing. Now I did clean those up pretty well. I did a little work on the bolt and narrow it up. So right now things are looking pretty nice. So we're going to shoot this gun, get some idea how it does, along with showing how it is to use the lube here out of this what they call utility gun. I've taken the barrel off and slid the cylinder off. I'm going to load the cylinder with the powder and then the round ball in my press over here. It's a lot faster for me to do it that way. Then I'll put this back into the gun and kind of demonstrate how I'd end up lubing it. If I had loaded it in the gun, I could obviously just stuff them down like this, but I want to see how it works when this thing is in the gun. Other thing I want to do is check the barrel out and look down here and see how that looks. It looks really nice to me. So whoever owned the gun before either didn't shoot it much, or you wouldn't need to shoot too much at all to get a bad barrel. Just once would be enough. But this one is taken care of, so that should be good. And we'll also take a look through the barrel after shooting some rounds here with it by using the lube. So, alright, let's get this thing loaded up back in the gun, and we'll try our Dualco, that's the company that makes this thing. We'll try our mini grease gun on it. Alright, we got our cylinder back in the gun and about ready to use our luber here. I did notice on this one that I got a bit of barrel slop back and forth here. Not a real tight arbor on this gun to fit in there. Let's see if that clears up once we put the wedge in. Some folks will drive these wedges in like somebody commented like it's a nail. You don't need to hit them that hard. Just want to firm those up. Okay, that took care of that issue, but I say we're not going to have that issue on the Remingtons, but we do have them, can have it here on this gun. We'll see how it shoots anyway. All right, let's take a look at how it looks to put the lube in here then. Basically, we're going to hold the gun with one hand like this and put our lube in like this. I'm using 3 shots in there. Then I'll have to rotate. Another 3 pushes here is pretty well doing it. I'll show you in a second here how they're looking down there. Okay, and that's it. I don't have too much lube all over everything, so that's a good thing. And here's how they look. They're on one side here of the chamber because I'm not able to get that down there square like I'd like to, but I got a fix for that, and I'm going to show that after the first chamber here, first cylinder is fired. Yeah, so let's see. That's not really the way I'd care to see the lube in there, but we'll go ahead and fire them the way they are. Okay, we're capped up here. Got our hammer down on a safety pin. Something else to mention here, I'm pretty happy with the way this is dispensing the lube because it got down to 40 degrees last night, and I'm guessing this lube is probably at around 50. So this thing has seemed to working on that stuff at 50 degrees. I've had it up as far as 80. I'm sure if this thing is out in the sun someplace getting at 100 110 degrees, you would have a mess. So liquid probably rather than the solid form that's coming out in now, but it's working right now at these lower temps. Well, it's got a light trigger pull. I like the pull on this. God, wonder where that one went. I think it's high, right above. That's what I'm thinking it is. It's about 3 inches high of the center dot, which would give it about 8 inches above point of aim for a first shot. Okay, there's 6. Well, those first 6 were high, and I'll show the target here after a bit, but they're way up at the top of the target. Doesn't look like a bad group. Let's take a look inside here. I said I would show what that looks like in there. And I'm seeing it fairly shiny for the first half or 2/3 of the barrel, and then it's getting some darkness up towards the last part. So, but totally not that bad, the first 6 shots. And here's a modification that I was talking about, and I put a 45-degree angle on here. That should allow us to get right in there and be square to the ball as far as putting that lube in. Let's see how it works. We're loaded up here, and that's going to fit right down in there. I can get in there pretty square. Still not doing a perfect job. I can see there I got some on the side. I can kind of come in there and add a little more to that one. But it's better than it was before. So just those couple, this one here I'm going to touch off a little bit. The reason I'm doing that is to make sure I've got lube all around the edges of those things. Just in case maybe that's where the chain fires come from. There's been some debate about that, but anyway, I think that works. I say so far I've had to use this lube gun here for maybe 5 or 6 shooting sessions, and I've had no complaints with it. And my hands are still okay as far as being able to, and that's a good thing. Sometimes you get all greased up if you're using lube. Alright, we're capped up, set her on the safety pin, point that in a careful direction. And here's that third target, more respectable. Of course, you got to remember I'm shooting at a dot that's down here someplace. I got about a 2 1/4 inch group here for 5 shots. Stretch it out to about 3, I suppose, if we include this one up here. You know, so that's respectable for this gun, considering the sighting system, and of course me doing the trigger job, pulling. And that front sight would need to be probably twice the height that it is. I also would like it a little narrower. Didn't you do that on a gun here earlier? Like this one? You add it on the front sight. It's a lot narrow. I don't suppose this barrel would fit, would it? Okay, this front sight's a little higher. I expected not to shoot quite as high, but I'm still going to aim at that center, the lower dot. Or not the, yeah, the lower dot. Let's see what we get. And that target's at an angle, so I should be shooting left of the center dot. So here's that group that we shot. First shot was low. I would expect that with the barrel being clean. And we got 4 of them over here. I like my left and right spread, except for this fellow over here. That narrower front sight, I'm able to do better as far as seeing my light on each side of the front blade goes. So our jam got cleared out of here, so we're able to load up 6 more and just see what the next 6 will do. Okay, I think that's enough shooting for the day. Time to be cleaning. But with this barrel at a little higher front sight, and it's also a little narrower, shot this group, which measures, I think, 2 1/4 for 6 shots. And if you take this one out, we're talking about 1 3/4 for 5 shots. That's about as good as I do with these sights and things of these guns. But I'm pretty happy with the way it's shooting basically, and I hope that demoing this luber here that I'm using maybe is useful to someone. Yeah, they are some greasier than if you're using just the wads or maybe nothing at all, but I'm not finding this as terrible. It's definitely workable. So anyway, that's it for the shooting for the day. Here's what the barrel looks like after firing, I think, 18 rounds, 18 shots. Now we're going to see what it takes to clean our barrel out. We're going to use dry patches. And I realize using wet ones would work easier, but the idea here is to see if that lube keeps the fouling soft enough so you can just push it right through. I always check to see how much effort that takes and whether I feel kind of a gritty or a sandpaper feeling as I move that through, and I'm not getting that. So there's our first patch, and the fact that it's kind of moist on here, I think it's a good thing. Alright, there we got number 2. Anyway, let's run number 4 down here. See what we get there. That's not looking bad. Let's take a look through with the camera. It looks pretty bright to me. I'm sure there's still some fouling along the edges of the lands and grooves there, but that's really pretty decent.